7.
Ah, okay. TB7, yeah. Okay, so that's perfect. All right. So let's wait for some other students, maybe for a few more minutes, yeah?
Okay.
Okay. Oh yeah, by the way, my name is Mr. Reza. Nice to meet you. I think we haven't met before. Okay. Just waiting for more students, okay? Hello there. Hi. Bernadette. Can I call you Bernadette?
Davina.
Oh, Davina. Okay. How are you today?
Good.
All right. Nice to meet you, Davina. My name is Mr. Reza. So what trailblazers are you?
EV6.
Oh, TB6. Okay. All right. So there's one more student. Let me admit her. Okay. Hello, Anggun. Hi there. Hi. How are you today? You good? Okay. So from what trailblazers are you?
4, I think.
Oh, TB4. Okay. So my name is Mr. Reza. Nice to meet you, Anggun. All right. So now, do you know what topic our live club is today? Do you know what it's about?
Is it be a newscaster?
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so we're just going to have a look at how it is to be a newscaster, and we're going to also have a little challenge for you guys. So hopefully you'll stick till the end, yeah? So let me just share my screen. Okay, give me a second. Okay, can you all see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay, so yes, so today we're going to have a look at some examples of news anchors. So first of all, I want to ask you, what is the meaning of news anchor or newscaster? Does anybody know? What is it they do?
Sharing news
Okay, share the news where?
to the public.
Okay, to the public through what media?
Maybe television or something.
That's right. So television is just one of the media, yeah, that news anchors share the public the news from, yeah. So there are radio, also there's probably from the internet. So we have a lot of platforms now where we can share the news, yeah. But mainly, what we're going to focus on today is television newscaster. So let's have a look. All right. So, in simple words, a newscaster or a news anchor is a person who presents and coordinates a live television or radio news broadcast. Yeah. So, as you can see here in the picture, they usually look like this, wearing a suit and very, tidy clothes. Yeah. Do you have any favorite newscasters or any newscasters that you usually watch on TV? Does anybody know?
CNN News.
Okay. Do you know the name of the news anchor, maybe?
No, no.
No? Okay. So, anybody else? Do you have any favorite newscasters or any famous newscaster that you know?
I don't have, but I don't know.
Oh, is it Indonesian or from other country?
From television.
Oh, okay. All right. So, does anybody here have any dreams of being a newscaster when you grow up? Anybody wants to be a newscaster when they grow
No.
up? No,
No.
why not? What do you think are the challenges of being a newscaster? What do you think is, difficult, or maybe what do you think is the benefits of being a newscaster? Can someone share what you
You
think?
show up in TVs on medias.
That's right. What do you think is the hardest challenge of being a newscaster?
Brave to talk.
What is it? Sorry.
Brave to talk.
Oh, yeah, you have to be very brave to talk in public, especially when you're watched by millions of people on television, right? So it is quite a challenge. So it's not as easy as it looks, yeah? All right. So now when you're watching a newscaster sharing the news on TV, do you think they memorize all the words or do
No,
they
there's
read?
a place called autoscript. Like in front of
Mhm.
their face, there's something a script. So the newscaster going to read it.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. So there's also this thing. Are you like, as you can see on my screen, are you familiar with that device? Do you
Yeah,
know what that is? What do you think that is? Anybody
there's a
know?
name on it. Autoscript.
Oh, okay. That's good. But we usually call this a teleprompter. Yeah. So this is, oops, sorry. So this is what is called a teleprompter. Yeah. So have you heard of the term teleprompter? Does anybody know what it is? And or maybe how it works?
You read letters from the teleprompters.
I don't know.
And what do you think is inside here? Do you think it's a camera right here?
No, it's like a screen, but
Hmm.
small, kind of small.
Right. So when when the newscasters announce the news, they it would seem that they're looking at the camera, right, when they're actually reading. So here, I'm going to explain to you in simple words what a teleprompter is. So it's a device used to project a speaker script onto a transparent panel in front of a television camera lens in such a way that the text remains hidden from the camera. So that's why when you're looking at the newscasters, they would not look like they're reading. Yeah, so they look like as if they're looking at the camera. So that's how it works because it's being reflected on a mirror, something like that. Yeah. So what do you think is the challenge of reading a teleprompter? Or maybe just using this device in general? Oops, sorry about that. Okay, so what do you think?
Maybe the reading has to seems natural, so it doesn't
Yeah,
seem
so you
reading.
exactly, you still have to use intonations, you have to use the right tones, right? You can't just just read it like you're reading a text. Yeah. Okay, so next, I'm going to show you some phrases or sentences that are commonly used by newscasters when they're presenting the news. Yeah. So let's have a look at these phrases. Okay, so on the right here, these are the phrases that are commonly used by the newscasters, and these ones are the purpose of the phrases. Now, let's see here. We start with opening the newscast. So, which phrase do you think is used when you want to open a newscast? Does anybody have any idea? We'll just look at the right
Which
side.
uh, good good evening, and here's is tonight important news.
Yeah.
Okay, so good evening, and here's tonight's important news. Okay, I think that should be it. So let me draw a straight line. All right, there you go. What about the next one? Announcing the headlines.
It's pretty wet out there, isn't it?
Okay, can
Wait, no,
maybe somebody else?
no, it's the second one. Supposed to be
Which
the
one?
introduction, the weather.
Okay, so which one is the opening, announcing the headlines?
Maybe high Steve. We are gonna.
Okay,
We
does
are
anybody?
on.
Okay, so does anybody have any other idea, maybe? Okay, let's see this one. Which one do you think this one is used? This one. Tonight's stories
Excuse me, we
include.
have a developing situation.
Okay, so let me draw. So when you, after you open the newscast, obviously, you're going to read through what the tonight news is about. Yeah, so that's when you introduce what you're going to watch in the next half an hour or maybe in an hour. Yeah, so you're going to read the headlines first, but not the full news. So how people introduce the headlines usually, they would say this one. Tonight's stories include, for example, an earthquake that just happened a few nights ago, for example, like that. So this is the phrase that they would use when they introduce or when they announce the headline, okay? Tonight's stories include blah, 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 blah. Okay, next. And in any news programs, there are more than one sections usually, yeah. And the most common section that they have is usually the weather forecast. Now, how do you introduce the weather? How do you think? Which phrase do we use?
It's pretty wet out there, isn't it?
Okay, it's pretty wet out there, isn't it? Okay, so that's a good one. Okay, so let me draw the line. All right, next. When you have to cut to a commercial break, what
Stay
phrase?
tuned. We'll be right back.
Yeah, that one is pretty obvious. Yes, stay tuned. We'll be right back. So that one is when you want to break, when you want to have a commercial break. Okay, next. When you want to transition into a new story from the previous one, which phrase do you think we use?
Let's turn to a
Let's turn
story
to a
about.
story about.
Yeah, let's turn to a story about, okay. All right, next. Introducing live coverage. Wait, for what is a live coverage? Does anybody know?
You're
Something
calling the
right now.
people.
Okay. What is it? I'm good.
I think something that happened right now.
Yeah, so live coverage is basically when the newscaster who is in the studio is going to talk to someone who is out there in the field where the news is happening. Yeah, so you switch from the studio to what's going on out there. So which phrase do you think we have to use when you want to introduce a live coverage? So you're basically transitioning from the main newscaster to the another reporter. So which one do
Hi,
you think?
Steve. We're on the ground here in downtown.
Okay, so hi Steve, you're on the ground here in downtown. Okay, so let's try that first. All right. Now, another segment that a news program usually has is a sports segment. Yeah. So, which one do you think do we have to use when we want to introduce a sports segment?
Uh, how
How about that
how
game?
about the
Right.
game last night?
Yeah. So, let's say there was a game or a football match last night, and you want to introduce you can the issue. You can use this line. Yeah. How about that game last night, and then so on and so forth. Okay, good one. And then interrupting for breaking news. So usually when you're a newscaster and you're delivering the news to the audience, usually sometimes when there's really important news that is happening right at this second, usually you have to be interrupted because the news is that important. So which one do you think do we use when we want to interrupt for breaking news?
Thank you for
Excuse
tuning
me.
in. We'll be back at 11 with important updates.
Okay. Any other idea?
Maybe excuse me, I have a developing
Yeah. All right.
question.
Yeah, I think that's the one. So you have to say, excuse me, we have a developing situation about something that's really important. So that's usually how they break it to the audience that there's another piece of important news that they have to report. Yeah. So you can say that line, excuse me, we have a developing situation. Okay, and then before they finish, they don't finish abruptly, right? So they have to use pleasant small talk before they finish. So which small talk do you think can be used? Which one is it?
Thank you for the tuning in. We'll be at 11 with important updates.
Okay, any other idea?
Oh, let's get out
Let's
there
go.
and enjoy some of the good weather.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
so you can. This is you because usually when you're a newscaster, you're not in the studio alone. Yeah, so usually there's another person, or maybe there are even three people in the studio. So you can talk to your coworker, to the other newscaster. Let's get out there and enjoy some of the good weather. So that is before you signing out. Yeah, so that means when you want to sign out, you can say, thank you for tuning in. We'll be back at 11 with important updates. Okay, do you have any questions so far? So the phrases are pretty simple, yeah. So these are all the phrases that we're familiar with already. So let's see what we have next. Okay. Okay, so now, as Anggun said in the beginning, the challenges of being a newscaster is being brave to talk in front of the camera to so many people out there. So here are some news reading tips. Yes, so let's see what the tips are. So the first one is you have to have a neutral accent. Do you have any idea what that means? What does it mean when someone has to have a neutral accent? So here in the explanation, it says that, okay, Anggun.
Maybe from another country or
Mhm.
and many country like that. Some people have an accent, and we have
Mm,
to talk without that accent we have.
that's right. Yeah. So we have to have like an accent that is as neutral as possible. Yeah. And then the second tip is you need to speak a little slower. Don't rush, and you need to enunciate carefully until no one can tell where you are from. So if you're listening or if you're watching a news program, usually you cannot tell where the newscaster is from, right? Because they have such a natural accent. So that is one of the tips. That's actually the first and the most important tips, actually. Okay. The next one is you need to have a storytelling ability. Do you know what it means? Yeah, okay, I'm gonna again. Go ahead.
Maybe we have to make the audience understand and and like um so we're like not talking to ourselves but like
Yeah.
talking to the audience.
100%. Yeah, that's correct. So when you're talking to other people, like the previous slide that we saw in the teleprompter thing, so we need to talk as if we're talking straight to the audience, right? So we need to think about each sentence's points and stress the words that best communicate the action to help the audience understand the information easily. So you need to have the ability of just telling a story as if you're talking to us directly. Yeah. Okay. Next one is conviction. Do you know what it means?
Knowing about what to talk.
Hmm. Anybody has any idea? Any other meaning, maybe? So basically, when you speak with conviction, is that you have to be confident with the delivery that you're giving, yeah, with your way of talking and with the information that you're talking about. So even though you don't really know what you're talking about, you still have to be very firm in telling the story as if you know the full story. So that's basically what it means. So you have to be confident and you have to be firm with how you speak. Yeah, that's basically what it means. I think the last one is good posture. Does anybody know what that means?
Uh, when you're recapping the news, you need to do a good
Hmm.
posture.
Like what? What do you think?
Stand like
Like body
Okay.
language
straight up.
and
Uh-huh. So if you're standing, you have to stand up straight and don't slouch. Like you cannot like sit like that, right? You have to stand up straight and you have to always maintain good eye contact. Yeah, because eye contacts are very crucial when it comes to delivering news because it projects your confidence and your knowledge. So when you're looking at the camera and you have good posture, people will take you seriously. Yeah, so you cannot like sit like this, like as if you're lazy. Yeah, so I think those are four things that you have to keep in mind when you are broadcasting the news to the audience. Yeah. Okay. Do you have any questions so far about this, about the tips?
no.
No? Okay, so let's just move on. Okay, so before the role play, I'm going to play some examples of a newscast. Okay, so give me a second. Oh, I cannot seem to open the file. Okay, sorry. Oh, unfortunately, it says low resources. I'm not sure what it means. I cannot open the file, but okay, anyways, we're just going to have a look at different situations that might happen when you're delivering the news. So as I said before, the newscasters, they don't usually just sit in the studio, but there's also reporters. Yeah. So what do you think do reporters do when they're out there in the field delivering the news as something is happening? So what do you think they do? What do reporters do when they're out there?
Reporting what is happening at that time.
Yeah, and then what else? What do they usually do?
Someone in there know a lot about the situation.
Yeah, you have to find as much information as possible. And then one thing that they usually do is they usually interview someone from the scene, right? So, for example, when there's a flood happening and there are some people who are experiencing the flood, so usually the reporters would pick someone and then they would interview that person right there on the spot. Yeah. So I think that's what we're gonna try to do today. So I have some scripts here, some prompts. So there will be a news anchor who is in the studio, and then a reporter who is presenting the news from the scene, and there would be also one witness from the scene. So let's have a look at this one. I think if you're from TV7, you might be familiar with this one. So I'm going to pick. Hold on. So who would like to be the news anchor?
I guess me.
Okay. Who would like to be the reporter?
Maybe me.
Okay. So Anggun, are you okay with being the witness?
Yeah, I want to be the witness.
All right, that's great. So for the news anchor, you can use some of the lines that you have learned in the previous slide to help you communicate better. And then for the news reporter, you can also use some of the lines that we used in the previous slide. And for the witness, you can just improvise. So you can just make up any story that you think might happen in that kind of situation. So I'm going to give you about 2 minutes to read all of these instructions for news anchor. These are all your instructions, and these are all the things that the reporter should do, and these are some of the things that the witness might have to say about what's
Why do we do
happening.
greetings?
Sorry, what?
Do we do greeting or straight up into the
You
script?
can do the greetings. So let's just pretend like this is something that is happening and you're in the studio. So you open the news first and then you introduce what's happening, the headlines. Like you see in the previous slide, maybe you might forget. Okay, so you
Okay,
can start with
is
good
what
evening and
country is that?
oh yeah, you can make it up.
Ah,
I
okay.
think yeah, so the news anchor, you have to maybe think first what country and what city. You can make it up, um, anything basically, and then the reporter and the witness, you just have to adjust to what the news anchor is saying. Yeah. So 2 minutes from now, think about what you're gonna say and how you want to ask the question because these are all just some straight questions. Yeah. So maybe you can improvise. All right. So 2 minutes from now, and then we'll start. Okay. Okay. 1 more minute. Okay, you ready? Just let me know when you're ready. Then we'll start. Can we start? You ready? For the anchor.
Okay.
All right. So don't feel nervous because obviously this is your first time. So you feel free to improvise. So don't think too hard what you're gonna say. Just say what's on your mind, but also keep in mind the tips that you have seen in the previous slide. Okay. So go ahead.
Good evening, people of the Americas. There has not been any rain in your city for 2 months. Now we're calling our reporter. Reporter, what just happened?
There is there has not been any rain in our city for 2 months.
Is there any
Many
damage on the spot?
Is there any damage on the spot, reporter?
damage in has been damaged.
Okay.
What are the
And
solution of this?
what could be the solution when there's a drought? What do you think? Maybe the reporter, you can ask the witness what's been happening and what they do to help.
Witness are many people. What the solution?
Okay. And then the news anchor, maybe you can also ask another thing that the reporter can ask to the witness.
The police told not to use any water because there's just little water remains.
Okay. And then maybe the reporter, you can tell the anchor what the witness says. Just report it back to the anchor.
The police told you to not use too much water because the water is
Okay. And then maybe last but not least, maybe the anchor, you want to conclude the news and maybe you want to close and thank the audience for tuning in. Go ahead.
So people, there's a big drought on Los Angeles, America. Thanks for tuning in to this news.
Oh, wow, that's awesome. Okay, great. All right. So, what do you think was the hardest part of delivering the news from the anchor first, maybe?
About like
What is it?
you need to change like scripts because yeah.
Yeah, it's quite difficult, yeah. And because usually, like I Okay, sorry about that. Like I said, usually when there's something like this happening, it's not planned, so it's usually very spontaneous. So that's how it usually happens. Yeah. Now,
Yeah.
what about from the reporter's side? What do you think is the most challenging from just trying to deliver the news or asking the witness? Reporter, Davina, are you there?
What?
What do you think is the hardest part of being a reporter? How when you ask the witness, what do you think would be the challenge if you're a real
Just
reporter?
have to remember what the witness say.
Yeah, exactly. You have to really remember what they say when you try to, report back to the anchor, right? So that could be quite challenging. Okay, thank you. And last but not least, the witness. What do you think is the hardest, like, challenge of being asked on live television as a witness?
And we have to answer with words that people understand.
Yeah, so we have to make the people understand as much as possible what's happening. And sometimes it could be, it can make you nervous because you've never done this before as a witness, right? Okay, so there are actually some other dialogues, but since there are only three of you, so I think that was it for today. Do you have any questions before we close the live club? What do you think is the conclusion of like being a news anchor? Like, what do you take away from this? Like, do you want to be a news anchor or do you not want to be a news anchor and why? Go ahead, Angun. Do you want to say something?
For me, I think I don't want to be a newscaster. Because
Why?
because for me, and it's too boring just to
I
read a
know.
text.
But don't you think when you look at newscasters, usually they look really smart?
A little bit.
Yeah, okay, all right. Thank you for your opinion, Angun. So, what about the others? What do you think? Okay, Davina?
Maybe if I can reach my prophecy dream, maybe I can be a news anchor.
Oh, that's good. I'd like to hear that. Okay, what about from who's the other one? Kevin? What do you think, Kevin?
Will not be a news anchor because just not interested into it.
Oh, you're not interested. Okay, all right. So thank you guys for joining our live club this afternoon. I hope you stay healthy and stay safe. Thank you so much for joining. I'll see you again next time. Okay, bye bye. Thank you for joining. Good
Thank you.
afternoon. You're welcome. Bye.
So much fun.